that you planned ahead. So I am very, very happy to be having this. Judy, I'm muting you. I'm sorry. Too much kids noise. So I am very happy to introduce our former shlichot to Shaare Torah. We have Ella Aronov, who was here in the community from 2016 to 2018 and is now the director of the Ofek Community Shlichut and Designist Seminars, and she will talk more about that in a moment. And also with us is Rotem Soko, which I hope I pronounced it right. She is a 7th grade teacher, and she was here with us at Shaare Torah from 2019 to 2021. So I'm gonna start with asking some questions to Ella, and we will kind of just go with the flow. And when she needs to leave us, she'll leave us, and then we'll just move right on to Rotem. And this is my invitation to you to say, if you have questions, if you have things that you're more interested in hearing from our former shlichot, you can unmute yourself and speak. You can raise your hand physically. You can raise your hand electronically, or you can write in the chat. Any of the options are good. I want this to be more of a conversation that you're leading, even though I have many questions for the shlichot, and what does it mean to finish a term of shlichut, and a lot of questions for them, but I will get my private time separately. So, starting with Ella. Hi, Ella. Can you share a little bit about the work that you're currently doing? I know that you just got this new role. So can you also tell us what excites you about that new role?
Okay. Can I share screen? Because I want to show you all something.
Yes.
Okay.
One moment. Yes. Now
Thank
you
you.
can.
I want to show you a picture. This picture has been taken in my first 2 weeks of my shlichut. Okay. I love this picture. They took us to see a baseball game. They said, you need, to feel American. In the first 2 weeks, they took all of us. If you remember, in 2016, this new project started in the DC area to have shlichim in synagogue, and this is me standing in the National Stadium in my first. And I want to show you a second picture. This picture has been taken. 1 second. This picture is the same spot, just last November, which means around 8 years between those two pictures. But the difference is that I'm not a shlicha. In this picture, I'm the director of this program that I was part of. And I'm sharing this story and these two pictures because I remember myself standing in the same stadium in a very different event than a baseball game, but standing there and feel, first of all, very proud of myself, but also felt very lucky that I came to this shlichut, to be shlicha in Shaare Torah, because it led me to everything I'm doing today. So today, basically, I am the director of the program of all the shlichim, the Ofek Shlichim. Ofek Shlichim, it's just a name for a group between 22 and 31 after the army that coming to different communities. Part of it is Avram, it's what me and Rotem did. It's all the shlichim in the DC area and so much more. So now I started to be the director, and it's fascinating. It's a very different world. It's less the education part that it was very big in my career since forever, but I started more the management part. So it's fascinating. It's very interesting. And for me, it's also an opportunity because I truly believe in this program. Like, based on my experience and the connection I had with everyone here that I still see and I still think about with each one of you about a moment, about, a small conversation that we had that today I still remember. And I know how much this program can affect on different Jewish in the diaspora. And I feel very lucky. I really honestly feel very lucky to be where I am and to have this opportunity to change. I will say I started in November, so I feel I have so much more to learn about the job, even though I worked for 4 years in the same department. I was just the educational director. But it's very different. It's very different perspective. So I'm learning. I'm I'm starting to make mistakes. This is what I'm doing. This is how this is how you know you're in the right place.
That's great. Um, so I will ask, um, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but what are really the challenges that you're facing now in your field, and how are you navigating them?
Um, I think that one of my challenges is to make everyone around me be passionate as much as I am about this program, because there is other shlichut that some of them are making more money, some of them are people donating more for that, and the Ofek shlichut is small and kind of in between. It's not the young shinshinim, the gap here that coming with all the energy, and they're not families. It's something in between, and I think my challenge it's kind of put it on the map, that it will be well known, and it will be. I want I want to go to not just US. By the way, I'm working very hard now to go outside of the US. For example, we're discussing now with New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, to bring a shaliach. Listen, this is something else. It's a different language. Do you want to come, Rotem? Because we are looking for someone.
I
Uh,
might. That was my dream. That was my
I know. I
in the
was like, I'm going
future,
back
going
to
on
be
shlichut to
shlicha.
New Zealand. Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity. We're talking about, we actually discussing with Saloniki in Greece. It's different community. You have like in the aspect. So the challenge is to know more communities so I can make them also passionate about this program, and not everyone it should fit obviously the community, but I do think there is so much more potential than what we do, not just in North America. So this is one of my main challenges, and I'm actually trying to start a new program to do a short-term shlichut, which means shaliach will come to our community for like the high holidays or for Yom Ha'atzmaut time, and it will be a little bit shorter. And this is meant for more small and distant communities. For example, if there is a community of like 1,500 Jews, and to have a full-time shaliach, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of effort. So maybe to have for those community an option to bring in Israeli, they don't have many Israelis usually in those communities, to have like an Israeli coming on, the peak moment, the high holidays, maybe Hanukkah, Yom Ha'atzmaut, and to do some programming in the community. So I'm trying to start this idea, and it's a challenge. If you didn't, it's a big challenge.
It's great. I will move in a moment to talking more generally about how you view Israeli society right now, so be prepared. But I have a question before that, more related to your work. In the past year, have you seen a change in the interviews that shlichim make, in the amount of shlichim that come to interview, in the why they come to interview? Has there been a change? What was the change, if there was?
I don't know if it was a change as much as like there is like it's felt like a layer of Zionism and want to do something that added to a great people, because every year we're getting really, really good people. But people that experience the war in Israel, um, I think many of them the people that want to work with Jewish people around the world, um, when they're talking about it, the experiences they had from the last 14 months are very strong. Sometimes they're more extreme. Sometimes it's just a feeling I need to do something. I will say a lot of Israelis, I feel maybe, it will connect for the next questions, but when you hear what people saying about us around the world, it's it's not passing through. It stays. You think about it. It's bother you when you hear how people view what you do, and many of the people are serving in the army or have families that serving in the army, and then they see how the worldview, and they feel they want to do something, and the answer is shlichut. I always tell those people, by the way, it's not, you're not going and give speeches about what Israel do. You're going to work with kids. You're going to make lectures for adults. You're going to dance in a circle in kindergarten. This is what you're going to do. But if you understand that those actions will hopefully raise the next generation of young Jewish people to love Israel, support Israel, feel that Israel is part of their Jewish identity, it's such an amazing part. So yeah, they do. They have some other motivation. I will say, and to be very honest, some of them need a break from Israel. And it's not a bad thing, by the way. It's not a bad thing. If it's not your only reason, if it's part of it, and it's okay. If it's the only reason, obviously you're in the wrong place. But people need a break sometimes. I get it.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Um, so I really wanted to ask you, um, what challenges do you see right now that are facing Israeli society? And on that same note, what are some areas that give you hope or you see some form of hope in Israeli society?
The biggest challenge I see, it's the difference between the people and the leadership. I feel that many people don't feel, or let's be a little bit more modest, the people around me and the people I'm talking with, which not necessarily are the most people, feel that the leaders don't represent the way they view. And I will say, even if you agree, I'm not even talking, I think, about political view. I'm talking about, be a mensch. Like, who are the people that we're looking up to? And when I'm, when now they're sending for all the shlichim a package about Herzl and Ben Gurion and leaders, who are the leaders today? That can we make a package about them? We can make a lesson and learn from them. And it's feel like there is not many in the official leadership, in politics, in other levels of leaderships in Israel. And the difference between the people and how much people loving Israel and willing to do, and the example, and walking in the everyday life that people are caring to each other, and want the best for this country. It's so big. And I'm asking myself if the problem is maybe I don't view right how the people are. Maybe the people also are splitting and talking that way and not the leadership material, or the problem is that we don't know how to bring new leaders, and we don't know how to educate to be a leader, and we don't, and taking responsibility in Israel doesn't translate to go to politics, to go to lead to be a mayor, to go and open organization. Maybe this is not what in Israel happened. When you want to be a leader, you go to the army. When you want to be a leader, you find yourself in in small places, and you find your leadership inside it. You're going to a gap year mechina, or for like something like that. Maybe this is what you do when you want to be a leader. And why is this gap? So until we figure it out, it's until we figure it out, we have a big problem, because we can keep be a great people, but if we don't have people that lead us, it's a big problem. I view it as a big problem, and I want to be. It's not a political statement. I do have my political view, but it's not a political. It's how this country being led. And when I was a shlicha in 2016, and excuse me if I'm doing this comparison, it was the first election that Trump was elected. And I remember making discussion with a lot of community members, and talking about exactly that, the difference between the leadership and us, and how what I'm doing when someone in the leadership do not represent my opinion. Like what you do when you have this gap. Are you doing your best where you are? Am I like now opening a school for leadership and raising the next prime minister? Like, what do you do to make this gap? Are you just waiting for it to be over? Because it will be over one day. Okay, everyone will be, it will be over. I don't know. I don't have a great answer except education, which that's what I'm doing. But it's a long term. It's a long term answer, not a short one.
Yeah, that was very interesting, very nuanced. I like that answer. I do want to ask a little bit more, and this will be my last question, and then I want to open it up to one or two questions from you guys if you have them, because Eli is going to leave us in just a moment.
But Avram, don't rush. I think I'll just go. I'll say hi in the next Zoom and I'll be back. So
Oh, even
yeah, I
better.
know I like you more. It's like, it's fine. Don't tell them Avram, but I like you more.
So, I mean, you've talked about a challenge and you've talked about a society that surrounds us and surrounds you um, and what do you wish to see eventually in Israel? But what are the things that you see around you right now that give you hope? What are some points of light that you see around you that you would like to share with us?
So I will um I will, I will give three answers. I have three. It's a lot. The first one here, I want to share with you another picture. So this is my family. This is my husband, Torin, and my baby boy, Eitam. And I actually want to tell you all I'm pregnant, actually. And I'm going to have a next baby in June. And to bring new life to this world, you have to be hopeful. Like, I see my baby boy and look on this face. Like, his name is Eitam with M in the end. But I cannot not be hopeful. I cannot not hope for a better world because this is a world he's going to grow up in. Like, I don't have any other choice. There is no choice to not be hopeful because I have to for him and for the kids that he taking stuff from him in daycare. All of them, I have to be hopeful. So this is my first answer. My second answer, it's what I'm doing in my life. Meeting people that want to do shlichut, which, the word shlichut, it's a job, but it also means someone that really going for a mission. It's a mission, shlichut. It's mean when you meet people that have a mission, and when you're coming to do that, you have extra something. You don't come for the money. You don't come just to come out. Like, it's not just that. You have to have this extra thing, and to meet this extra, spice in people, it's always make me be very hopeful. And I'm meeting the best of the best, and just from experiencing 8 years of shlichut, and you met 5 different people, just like, it's the best of the best. It's amazing people, and it's give me hope, really, really, all the time. Even like yesterday, I'm getting a phone call from someone. He's like, I finished my degree, I still want to be a shliach. And he told me about himself. He made aliyah from Ethiopia when he was 3. He now in Gaza serving, and he called me from Gaza telling me that he want to be a shliach. And I'm like, if those people, we're good. And my third answer, it's actually you, all the people here. And I think feeling that we're not alone, and no matter where we are in the world, we have family and we have people that will get us and will understand and will be hopeful with us even when everything is hopeless. And I'm not saying I'm not sometimes having bad days and not feeling sometimes that it's like hard and don't know what to happen, and reading the news, it's like not recommended, it's like just bad. But to have this support and the people that I'm talking, and even, Zoom call with supervisor from Salt Lake City, and a Zoom with a group in New Zealand that want to have a shlichut, and it's give hope. It's really, really give hope that it's not an end, it's a beginning. And the last 15 months was the worst. I think it's like one of the 10 worst of the Jewish people. I will say this statement, even though I don't know if it's right, because there is a good fight for that, but we try to make the best of it. And I think this is what meant to be Jew, right? You get the worst and you try to make the best. And that's what gives me hope.
Okay, so I see that you have 1 minute and there are some questions for you. Um,
So let me go and tell them hi, and I'll be back. And
yeah,
Rotem can start, and we'll mix
exactly.
up.
We will start,
So
and
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
thank you. And yeah, if you have more questions, you can again write them down or raise your hand, and uh, all of the options to ask questions are open. But I am very glad to start a conversation with Rotem as well. And as I mentioned before, Rotem was our shlicha from 2019 to 2021. And uh, Rotem, how are you? What are you doing right now? Yeah, that is my question.
Um, so we just talked about it in the very beginning of the conversation that it's a weird question to answer, I feel like these days. But specifically, I've had some health issues, so I've been home mostly for the past 2.5 months. But aside from that, I started teaching. I finished my teaching degree and my bachelor's, and I started teaching in a really, really great school this year in Tel Aviv. Tomo's home. He's finished with reserve duty for the time being until next time, as we say, which is always nice. And yeah, I don't know. This is mostly it. Um, we're figuring out next year. Tomo's probably going to start working it up way up north next to the border with Lebanon. So we're going to move up north, and we have to figure out where we want to live, and you know, there are considerations that I never thought would be part of the discussion of where to live. How close to the border do we want to be, and do we want to be a part of community? So where he's going to work, it's the kibbutz is called Sasa, but the people there are still evacuated at the moment. So, it's a question of, will they return by the summer? Will we want to be a part of? There are a couple of different organizations that are trying to do like a group of people to go together to the north and to the south, and work together to try and help, bring people to a stable place. So lots of different things happening. But yeah, I feel like that's mostly. Oh, and I'm still. I don't remember if I talked about it with people, but since February last year, I became a part of a group that's organizing a community for spouses, sisters, mothers of people that are serving. So there's a huge Facebook group of over 1,400 women. 14,000 women, and then WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. So I'm helping deal with that. Yeah, I think that's mostly how I'm doing.
Okay, I have many questions. So we will go back in a moment to what excites you about being a teacher and how do you see the future of that? But I do want to ask, um, so you're hoping to that your next step in Israel would be going to the north. I really wanted to ask how is, I know that you're originally from the north, not that north, but how is the life up there? How's your family doing up there, and how um like that step moving out of Tel Aviv, how does that feel to you?
Um, so it's strange because Tom and I moved to Tel Aviv for university. So Toma did his master's in physics in Tel Aviv University, and I was doing my teaching degree and my bachelor's in Seminar Kibbutzim. And we both are originally from the north, and we never thought that we would live in Tel Aviv, mostly because it is disgustingly humid in the summer, horrible, even worse than Maryland. And I never thought I'd like to live in a place that feels like walking in hot soup. Um, but we've moved here and we've actually really enjoyed it. And found a lot of benefits to living in the city. And we always figured that once we finish our degree, which ended half a year ago, we would move back north and, start our lives there. And last year we had to figure out if we're doing that or not. We were coming to the end of my studies. Tomo's studies were a bit more flexible because he's been in reserve duty for more than 6 months last year. So, not really great for studies. But we were trying to figure out what's the next move, and we actually decided to stay in Tel Aviv for another year, mostly because I figured that everything is so unstable, and everything is just, you know, we don't know what's happening, that I want to have some sort of stability. We didn't know if Tomo was going to go into reserve again for months at a time. We didn't know what was happening in the north. We didn't know, all of those things. And we also wanted to stay in the center, which allows us to be a part of a lot of things that are happening in Israel at the moment. So, going to demonstrations all the time, going to rallies, going to different places to volunteer, doing, all sorts of things that living in the center of the country allowed us a bit more flexibility with that. So we stayed for this year. And I think moving up north, again, it feels like we can't really, I mean, we're starting to, try and figure out where we want to live specifically, and, try and find communities and see what it's like. But there's still so much that is unknown, that affects our decision so much, because, for example, my parents live in the Lower Galilee, so mostly during the last year and 3 months, they were doing fine, totally fine, almost no rockets and whatnot. For the 2 months, with the, what do you call it? מבצע קרקעי בלבנון. the
I am
ground
about to be up.
operation in
Yeah.
Lebanon, like the intense fighting in Lebanon. They've had I don't know, I guess about on average 2 sirens a day, like, more or less. Tomel's parents would have 4 or 5. They live next to Naria, which is a bit more close to the border. But that's, the area where Toma is supposed, the factory where Toma will probably start working in, took 3 missiles to the factory last May. And the whole kibbutz is still evacuated because right now we're in a 60-day ceasefire agreement. That's not really clear what's going to happen when that ends, and should they return, should they not return. It's unclear how many houses were destroyed, or how many roads need repairing, or how many infrastructure still needs to happen. And it really changes from different places all throughout the northern border. And so, and even, more than that, it's just the question of, even if for now everything's done, more or less, up north, deciding on where to live, and realizing that it's a question of, okay, even if for now it's done, what happens in 10 years or 15 years, or, it's a lot to think about. And I always, especially after being in, the US for 2 years, I always realize how crazy this country is, and how crazy thinking about this type of thing as a criteria of where to live is insane. Or, even just in Tel Aviv this week, I was like, oh, we haven't woken up from a missile from the Houthis in a while. I wonder when that happens. It's like these are really, really strange things to consider. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So this is your first year being a full-time teacher, and I would like to hear a little bit about what excites you in that role, and maybe some specific challenges that you didn't anticipate.
Um, So I got to a really incredible school. A couple of different friends of mine also went to teach there this year. So we have a sort of a group, and it's a lot of fun to be working together, to, be sharing ideas and lesson plans, and, trying to work things out together. And the whole staff of the school is just fantastic. Um, and it's exciting, it's a lot. I have an average amount of kids in my class, and I have 35 kids in class that, everyone has their own thing, right? There are 2 kids that immigrated to Israel in the last year and a half. There are 13 kids with, learning disabilities. There are, like the whole, it's cool. I feel like it's the same everywhere in the in the world. But what I didn't really think about was that even though I'm teaching 7th grade, they're actually not really in the level of 7th grade, because they've had COVID for 2 years, and they've had the war for a year. And so in a lot of aspects, they're more like a, I don't know, 4th. I think they're like a year or 2 behind in a lot of different aspects, and it's a weird sort of in between space when we're trying to get them, up to speed in reading and writing, and just the basic functions that they need. But also, dealing with teenagers and the start of that, and hormones, and trying to work through that. So it's a weird thing which surprised me a bit. Another thing is AI is really big in education, and it's really, trying to figure out how this works and how to integrate it into both as a teacher and for the students. I mean, if they need to write an essay and they have obviously written it using ChatGPT, what's how do I deal with that? Or how do I help them learn how to use the tools that, are useful at the end? But so I feel like that's another
Oh,
surprising thing.
thank you. So I will dive right in so we can have some time for the questions. And my last question for you is, what are the challenges or a challenge that you see that Israel society is facing right now? And if there are some things that give you hope in Israeli society in these times?
Yeah. So I wanted to add, I think, to what Ella said before, that I think we've always learned that politics is dirty, right? And it's something that you don't really want to go into if you're a good person. And then we're stuck with the people that do want to go into politics. And I feel like that's sort of a very big issue that we're dealing with. But I think what I feel most is that in a way, we're becoming a bit more like American society, in the sense of having completely different stories. I think I was very surprised during shlichot to see that there was a huge divide between Republicans and Democrats in the sense of not really understanding what the story is of, people thinking something different, or not really knowing even a lot of people with different thoughts, having different news sources, seeing different, I mean, actually learning about the world in a different way. And I think Israeli society is becoming more like that. There are different stories happening, and people are really being separated into groups that are having less communication and less understanding of each other. And I think that is a huge problem in Israeli society. um, and my hope, I'll tell you my hope, and then I'll tell you my dad's hope. My hope is seeing all the amazing people out there. Both Toma and I have been volunteering in various different places throughout this past year and some, and you see so many incredible people, doing everything and helping as much as they can all the time in incredible ways. And in so many different aspects, in you were talking about mental health, so helping with that, and people that are cooking for anyone who needs it in all different groups, and people who are donating stuff, and people who are, giving free tutoring lessons, and people who are helping rebuild physically, building houses for people that, so in any different aspects. And that always gives hope, because if there are so many incredible people, then hopefully we'll be able to do something incredible together. And my dad is hopeful because there were a lot of the things that we're seeing right now politically in Israel, and a lot of the changes that are happening have sort of been slowly happening already. I mean, it's not the first that we're seeing of this. It's just that now, and I taught Marcy this, and she was very excited about this saying. Do you remember it? You're on mute though.
Sorry, I was unmuting. So I can't fully pronounce it, but I did Google Translate, and then I did a screenshot of it so that I'll have it for all eternity because it's such a great saying. So go for it.
Okay. So there's a saying in Hebrew which is lehashtin me'amakpetza.
Not that easy.
Which is which is literally to piss from the jumping board, the springboard,
the like the diving board.
And what this saying is that the people that are so inconsiderate and so and there's no shame, there's no reconsider. I mean, they do what they do, and they just, they feel comfortable doing it on top of the world. So what my dad says is the leaders have become this, and this pissed people off enough that there's a big majority that was pretty silent so far and pretty comfortable in their own lives and, not really paying attention to a lot of things that are now really working towards making this a better place. And hopefully that works. So, yeah, it is a good phrase. My mom actually did say she had a good translation, but I can't remember it right now. I'll try and find it out.
It came up exactly as you said it when I put it into Google Translate.
What, to piss from the jumping board?
Uh-huh.
All
right. Yes, definitely the piece of culture that I thought I would be talking about today. Though it is a phrase that really explains a lot, and it's really sad that that's how we describe our leaders today. It's okay. So I wanna ask everyone to think about your questions and think about what you want to say. I did get a couple of messages in private, and there is the question from Gary that I will ask Ella, and then we will go back to questions to whoever you want to ask. I have more questions, but again, I would love for you to ask some. So Gary asked, do you know to what extent the shlichut have influenced Israeli opinions about Jews in the U.S.? That is one question, and I will phrase this as a question, even though I think it was more a suggestion. But are there shlichim who are doing work outside of Jewish communities, that are putting themselves out there in the public in non-Jewish spaces?
Can you repeat the
welcome
first
back.
question? Hi. Again,
Yes.
I love you more.
Do you know to what
Yeah,
extent?
I can just say
Yeah.
it maybe more
Hi,
succinctly.
Gary.
Hi,
How are you?
hi, Ella. How have do you know if the shlichot, you and others have been able to have had any effect or influence on the way Israelis view American Jews? I know it's a two-way. Your mission largely is to bring Israel
Absolutely.
to our communities, but how has your experience affected the views of Israelis towards us?
So it's an excellent question. And when in the training, when we say to the shlichim, once shaliach, always shaliach. Because when you're done with your 1, 2, 3 years in America, you're coming back and then you have shaliach of your experience. And it sometimes feel like that, because when I'm telling people I did shlichut, I need to explain, and I see how little people know about communities. And by the way, I also understand how I don't know much. I was in one community. I can say about my experience. The experience of someone that's been in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or someone in LA, or someone in Europe is totally different experience. So to understand how many colors and variety and we have in the Jewish world, um, I do. I feel it's going two way. We do try in the Jewish agency to make it official. Like there is a really alumni network that try to make program, and try also, like there is alumni in very important jobs in Israel, and it's always great to see people do it and bringing this voice to wherever they are. But also it's it's private. I think it's in your own circles. I don't know, maybe Rotem can add on what I'm saying. Like when you talk with your friends, and my family now know more than they knew before. I'm also specifically married to Americans that moved to Israel, so we have it in many circles. But it's about the conversation. It's about telling people, and I'm doing now my master's degree and discussing with people about these matters. And it's in the small action. It's not necessarily huge conference to yell what we learn. It's about the story. I think this is what you do in shlichut. Tell your story. And now I'm telling, I will not say your story, but my story from the perspective I met you all. I don't know, Rotem, you have something to add? I don't know, like.
I think it's a bit hard to say, as you said, because I know the people that I know, and the people that I know are sort of in the same type of experiences. I do feel like since the war, there's more interest than there was before from Israelis to try and understand the Jewish experience outside of Israel. There's also, I don't know if you've heard about it, but there was a TV series, The New Jew, and that was broadcasted in Israel, that did, and it was during COVID. They did an introduction to American Jewry, basically, and they did a really good job of it. And after the war started, they returned and they talked to people in the States to try and figure out how things changed since October 7th. And I hope that people in Israel are more interested and are trying to figure out and learn more, and are trying to be more empathetic and understanding of the different life experience and the different issues and the different concerns that are happening around the world. I'll also say that I mean, last week we saw in the news that there are more Israelis going to live abroad. So, it might be that Israelis are also learning and bringing their experience and, talking to family in Israel and relating the experience of Jews abroad. So it seems like it might be going in that direction.
Thanks.
I don't know that there are enough shlichim to just by itself have as much of an effect.
And I had a second question. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, about the work of shlichim with non-Jewish communities.
Oh, yeah. There is communities. It's bigger, and it's really depend where they are. I will say smaller communities, usually in the Midwest, will have just more opportunities to work with non-Jewish, because the amount of they're working with Jewish. I will say, when we send shlichim for communities, the Jewish agency, we don't, I will say, almost never send to a job with non-Jewish. Usually it's a part of your job. In some places, not the majority, but for sure few. I don't think we're sitting in like a non-Jewish organization ever, I will say there is an amazing other organization that doing the work of, sending videos, explaining, doing a lot about hasbara. The word in English I forgot.
There's no word for it, but an explanation, I guess, or whatever.
No, there is a word.
Everyone
Yeah,
on Zoom knows what has.
Hasbara. Okay, so to do a more explaining what's happening in Israel, this is not the job description of the shaliach. They can choose to do it as part of the job because they feel they need to. But the shlichim are educators, so it's a long term. It's not a TikTok video. It's more than that. But yeah, for sure.
Okay, so thank you very much, Rotem and Ella, for giving us a little bit of your time and giving us the opportunity to get other points of view on Israeli society and on what you are doing today. I will definitely follow up with you. But our time is over. So if you have time to stay or if you have to go, that is completely understandable. I just want to invite people if they have questions. I know that you both left your contact information when you left Shaare Torah. So if you want to share it again, if people want to ask you questions, or if you have questions now that you would like to ask, I will be finishing the recording and thanking everyone else who joined us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope that you did as well. And for those of you who are leaving us, have a great rest of your day.